Welcome to Screen Chat, live from the Media Hub on RiotRadio.ca. I'm your host, Justin. With me today behind the scenes, we have Evan, and Screen Chat is your show for all the latest Marvel news, DC Comics news, Star Wars adaptations, and much, much more. Today, we have a fun episode prepared. I'm actually very excited. Maybe you could tell by the shirt, we are going to be talking all things Sonic today and a little fun game that we had prepared. So, we're going to be taking the mainline Sonic games with a couple spin-offs in there as well, and we're going to be putting them in a tier list ranking. So, Evan and I, we have our list prepared for you guys. We're taking like I said, the mainline games, going to be adding a couple spin-offs and just putting them from D tier to S tier. So I'm really excited for this one today. There's a lot to discuss. And Evan, thank you again for being here. Initial thoughts on this discussion.
It's been super fun. We've been talking about Sonic off air and just in the office for a while now. We've been talking about it. Now I think about it. So we decided we were going to put this little tier list together. We're going to have a lot of fun with it. Now, the important thing is Justin doesn't know my tier list, and I don't know what Justin's is. Mm-hmm. Even though back here I can see all the images, I still have no idea what your dedicated list is.
Yep.
So it's going to be really exciting, and I think it's going to be... I don't know. I think from my end, it's pretty obvious what my number, my top few are. I think you'll be surprised by what my bottom and what my middle will be, though.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for that for sure. Before we even get into it, yeah, like Evan said, we have been talking Sonic for a while. I feel like he's just a character that's like really lovable, you know? Whether you like Sonic, the main character, you like any of the spin-off or the side characters, sorry. It's such a franchise that you could get behind, have different perspectives, opinions, just funny stories with. And I feel like that's why he kind of stands out compared to most video game characters. There's like a niche Sonic meme community, if you will, if you know. But just with that being said, right, there's always something to talk about, and I feel like us in the office, being like the gamers that we are and the nerds that we are, whenever there's any form of discussion, whether it's like video games, movies, TV shows, I feel like Sonic kind of fits everywhere. So definitely excited to talk about the games today. So without further ado, Evan, I think we'll get into the first rank, or the first tier, I should say, and this is the we're gonna call it the did not play, I guess, tier.
Did not play or don't know enough about to really give it a dedicated ranking.
Yeah, so I guess I'll give you my first one in this, I guess, DNF, if you will. Shout out F1. This is my first DNF game. I actually do have, I'm pretty sure, the latest game. I have Sonic Frontiers. Now, this is you said it best, Evan. I'm sure you'll say it again. I haven't heard anything bad about this game, therefore it has to be good. You know, like I haven't played it yet. Unfortunately, it is the newest one, and looks really good. I love this image. Like, this is probably one of the, like, hot take, this is one of the coolest like cover arts that they've ever had, in my opinion. I don't know what the game's really about, but it just looks pretty cool. But unfortunately, that's all I really have to say about Sonic Frontiers, as I haven't even watched any gameplay of this game.
So I also haven't played Sonic Frontiers. However, I know enough about it that, because when this was coming out, I was following it very closely.
Yeah.
Like, I was really interested in it just at the time. Like, you know, the funding didn't come around. Video games are expensive these days.
Yeah, it's mad.
So this is on the list of games to play, and I know enough about the behind the scenes, how the game runs, that I can give it a pretty good ranking without having played it. In terms of just the way it's done. And I definitely know it's better than some of the other titles we have here. So
yeah,
that's the only reason why it's not on my DNF list.
Yeah, so I guess for you then, we'll come back to it. You could give more of a take. But yeah, unfortunately for me, that's all I have. It looks really cool though. And like, I feel like this image of Sonic, he doesn't look too crazy, but he still keeps that traditional look in his, like, I guess the 4K graphics that they got. Definitely a game I want to get to. It is unfortunate that I haven't played it, just because I'm dying for Sonic Generations at the end of the year, while this game is already out. But it's just, video games are expensive for sure. So I guess we'll come back to you, Evan. What is the first game on your did not play / don't know?
So I have 3 total did not play and just don't know enough about to really rank it. My first one is Sonic Black Knight.
Ooh.
Which,
peak gaming experience.
Realistically, you would, like, just based off the cover, and like, I'm a big fantasy guy. I love fantasy, so you would think I would have played this.
I know.
But, like, this was probably the early 2000s, if I remember, maybe closer to the tail end of the 2000s. And yeah, I think it was for the Wii, I believe, and we didn't have a Wii, and Sonic was not in a good spot at that time. We'll come back to that later, though. But yeah,
Yeah, so this one is actually on my list. I'll get to it later because it's higher up. This one is, funny enough, is actually a 2009 release, so it's a bit later than you thought. Yeah, and it's crazy too about this game is that I'll expand upon it more, but I think it's the only game on this whole list that we'll talk about that actually does not affect the canon at all, which again I'll elaborate on. But yeah, so this game is very like one of one in the whole Sonic universe. So you didn't even play it, but you, from a technicality standpoint, to actually play the games, you don't even need to play this one. That's why it's like it has its own little category for sure. So I guess we'll move on quickly to my next one on the DNF. Now, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure my three that I have, because I also have three, are the three most recent Sonic games in the mainline series. So we're gonna go with Sonic Lost World. I think this is called Sonic Lost. Yeah, Sonic Lost World right here. Yeah. Yeah, so the concept of this game is that those creatures on... So this is what I know. The guys on the right, Eggman is kind of controlling at the start of the game, and then Sonic, being a good guy, lets them free. He's like, nah, man, like you can't be keeping these guys captive, controlling them. And then they break free from Eggman's control, and pretty much are actually bad guys. And Eggman's like, dude, what are you doing? I told you not to do this. This is all your fault. So Eggman and Sonic kind of team up. It's weird because Tails didn't agree with it, so you don't even have Tails for the first half of this game, and then after that you kind of get Tails back, you go off, you fight them. It's actually doesn't make for a bad, necessarily like a bad story on paper. I just haven't played it, and quite frankly, like I don't want to say like I have no like desire to play it, but it's just an older game. Like it came out in 2013. It has a 6 out of 10 on Steam right now. 4.1 out of 5 on Amazon, though, if that means anything to you guys, and about 92% Google users like this game. So I feel like it's probably underrated, to be fair. I just haven't played it, unfortunately.
This is also on my DNF list. I had no idea this game even existed. For me, this wasn't Sonic the Lost World. It was like Sonic the Lost title, because I had no idea it even existed. Just based off the gameplay I saw, it kind of gives me like Mario Galaxy vibes. Just by the way that it looks like it's being played. Other than that, this is the first time I'm seeing this art. I'm like, wow, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah, so that's all we really have to say about it. Evan, coming back to you now, what is the next game on your DNF list?
So my last on the DNF list is Secret Rings. Same thing. This was also a like... oh, hold on, I gotta find the image here. Whoop, whoop, whoop.
I apologize for my computer going off. I will mute that.
Oh, I can't find it. Okay. Is that it? No. Yes? No. All right. Well, we'll talk about it. I just don't really know a lot about it. It's... it looks like kind of like the Lawrence of Arabia, kind of like Thousand Tales kind of vibes. And I know kind of the ending of it, but I don't know anything about how it's played. But it also, I'm pretty sure it also came out alongside like Unleashed, Black Knights, and 06 around that time.
Yeah, so this is actually the 11th game, so it's kind of like almost in the middle of the whole mainline series. And yeah, this was a 2007 game. So for me with this game, it's one of the few that I actually didn't own, but I played it at friends' houses, and I also watched it all online. We'll get back to it because I don't really want to give my full thoughts because it is later on in my list. But yeah, being the game that succeeded Sonic 06, you probably, if you didn't like Sonic 06, you weren't in a hurry to play Sonic and the Secret Rings, because this is also like a nichier kind of title. So I don't blame anyone for not playing it. But yeah, was this a game that did you ever like touch it at friends' houses, or no, you've never even played this?
Never even heard it. Like I knew about it, but I was like, man, this was... We'll talk about it later, but this is also coming off the heels of 06. So we'll talk about that one a little bit later, though.
All right. Well, without further ado, we're going to get into the actual rankings now of games. So we have a couple of tier list rankings here in the orders. Now, before we even begin, Evan, I just want to come back to you momentarily. Did you put these games in order from where they rank from, I guess, best to worst within the tier, or did you kind of just put them all in the tier themselves?
Nope. They are from best to worst. So on the right side is like the worst, and the left side is the best. And I have them in order from which ones I do like and which ones I don't like.
Okay. So funny enough, I was going to say, damn, I think I just kind of put them all in. But now looking at my list, I actually think mine are probably in that order as well. So at least that's good too. So I guess, yeah, will come to me. So my the quote unquote like lowest game on this in my this is my C tier. So we kind of had this funny debate off air. I actually just have C or S, A, B, and C because I think from the mainline games that I played, I don't think any of them are bad enough for D tier. I don't know if that's a bad take in its own, but do you have D tier?
That's your take.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a bad take. I have 2 dedicated, really bad Sonic games that are D tier.
Okay, so you know what then? How about we hear your D tier then? Because I don't even have any. Mine goes C, B, A, and S.
Okay, so
yeah,
the worst of the worst, the bottom of the barrel of Sonic games is without a question Sonic Forces. My God,
I'm twitching.
I can see. Oh man, I remember when this was released and I was like, wow, this is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. This is like a new low for Sonic. The gameplay wasn't very imaginative. It wasn't very good. The big gimmick was that you got to make your own
Avatar, right?
or your own like Sonic adventure character, and I was like, wow, this is really diving into like the Tumblr universe of, this is my OC, and I was like, no way, I'm not buying into this. The story is meh at best. It's really not that imaginative and not very good. You spend majority of the game playing as your avatar. Very few times you're playing as Sonic, but it is the first game that introduced modern Sonic and younger Sonic. I don't know what we're defining that as. But yeah, this one was pretty bad. I remember seeing this come out and I was like, wow, this is a train wreck in motion. It's not very good.
Yeah, so funny enough, I actually just forgot to mention it. I haven't played this game. So this was actually in my DNF. I guess I just read Sonic Forces on my screen and didn't bring it up. But yeah, so this game is very interesting because it takes such a cool concept of you have your own, like, I forget what they call you, but like your companion that you make. And like, it just seems like I don't even know. Like, it seems like such a train wreck. Like, how did Classic Sonic get into this game? Even though he's on my shirt, not trying to diss him, but like, Classic Sonic is here. Your avatar's here. I don't even know what they're going for because the execution was so horrible that I'm like, how was this the concept? And then this got released.
Do you have what year that came out?
Yes. So this is what, Sonic Forces?
Sonic Forces.
Yeah, I will do my quick due diligence.
2017, 2018.
I think you're right in saying that. And this is a 2017 game, yeah.
So at that time, Tumblr was still really popular. Tumblr doesn't really exist at the moment, or it's not really mainstream. And at that time, people were drawing their own Sonic characters.
Oh, really?
It was a really toxic environment, actually. Like, people were really aggressive about fair use in terms of art, which understandably made sense. But it was like to the point of, this was like the fair use idea before AI art generation was a thing, in a sense that people were taking other characters or making their own characters, and then it was similar to another character's or another person's character, and then they were like, no, don't steal my OC, and it was really bad and really toxic. So Sonic and Sega team really buying into that with this just made it way worse.
Yeah,
so
I bet.
Also, a lot of the like generic main character ideas, they weren't allowed to be cooler than Sonic, Shadow, and the main cast. So they all look awful.
Yeah, I was just about to say, like, when you limit it like that, because respectfully, I mean, if you could pull that back up, the image of it, is it still here? Yeah. I feel like you could see the example they show of the avatar instead, the green dude, right? And like,
yeah.
I'm not trying to hate, but like, look at how menacing and cool Sonic and Generation Sonic look. You got Knuckles in an action pose, Tails is locked in. Even at the top, you got Eggman with the city blown up behind him. You got Metal Sonic. I forget that other character's name. But then it's like, who invited Blood? You know, like what is he doing? I don't even know. Like he seems like, in theory, if this was a Sonic game and then that specific character was crossing over from a different gaming universe. Like, he doesn't look like he belongs there. So I am with you. Like, he looks lame. So yeah, I haven't played Sonic Forces, and I don't think I will. And you have it at the bottom of the barrel. So if that gives me any indication, I will not be playing it.
I hope that gives you some comfort, because you know what my next choice is, right?
Let's just go for it, man. I'm gonna look at the screen.
My other D tier game is Sonic 06. and I don't know.
Dun, 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 dun.
Now, this would be a very different list if we were basing it off the soundtrack. Because
It
the
would
Sonic
probably be
06
number one.
slaps. Slaps. It is so good.
Mm-hmm.
But man, the game is like,
I'm gonna crash out.
man, where to begin? Where to begin? The story and the concept is really cool.
Yeah.
And I really like the idea because this is our first introduction to Silver outside of the comics.
Yes.
And that's really cool. Silver is one of my favorite of the main cast. We also get to see Shadow come back. Everyone kind of comes together as well. You get a section where you're playing as Amy Rose. There's a section where you're Knuckles, a section where you're playing as Tails. And overall, in concept, that is amazing. And that's a great concept. But development was rushed. It wasn't very good. The game glitched out all the time. You would do like basic movement in the game and you would fall and you would die. Combat was really slow. It just felt really janky. It, like basic things that you would think would be more commonplace in modern video games. I say this as a 2006 release. But like when you jumped, you couldn't move while you were jumping. You know, you had collision in various other areas, and overall, it just felt incredibly unpolished. Now, I will say, the reason why this game is so good now is because of Project 06.
Yep.
Project 06 took all the really bad game mechanics and all the things that didn't make sense for continuity and made it way better because the concept of the game is really good and the actual storyline and what happens is really good. It's just mechanically it's not there from a video game standpoint, and that's the only reason why it's on the bottom and why it's above Forces, because Forces, the gameplay isn't very fun and the concept sucked. So that's why Sonic 06 beats out Forces for me.
Yeah, so I have a very different approach on Sonic 06, which we'll just come back to. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it right now. For context, I was like 4 years old in 06. So when that game came out, I was very small in the sense of like I was a little kid that loved Sonic the Hedgehog. So when I get to my take, I will reiterate that, but just please keep that in mind. And I have not played Sonic 06 since 2006.
There's also a very... for you and I, there's a generation gap here. So you can very obviously tell like why we choose what we choose. But anyways, let's go on to your C tier.
Okay, cool.
Because I'm done taking yeah.
So the first, the C tier for me, so I guess the worst game, I actually went to bat for off air to get on here. And it's kind of funny that it's like, it's my worst game, but I couldn't talk about any Sonic tier list games without mentioning Sonic Riders. This game is just like the definition of aura and vibes, and just like Mario Kart was cool, but like Sonic Riders was cool, man. Like there's something about like I was gonna get the official game cover, but then I saw this official art for the game, so this isn't like fan made, this is official art. I'm like, nah man, I gotta use this photo. Like there's just something about this game where I was like, you know what, man, like liking Sonic is cool, you know, like being a Sonic guy, if you were over Mario, it's not an L choice, it's like the different choice. And like you got all these Sonic characters riding hoverboards. Like it was just amazing, and like snowboards and whatnot. I remember I played this game at friends' houses, at arcades, there was versions, I'm pretty sure. And overall, I just absolutely love this game. Now, for what Sonic is as a franchise, especially in like 2024, me being 21, I don't think this game has any replayability. And I say that in the sense of like, there's just been so many Mario Kart games now to where it's like, if the boys were over, like, I don't think anyone is saying, yo, let's play Sonic Riders. But really and truly, one of the first Sonic games I did play. So, Evan, is this, do you have any memories with Sonic Riders?
You betcha I do.
Amen to that.
I love Sonic Riders. One of my favorites. It is much higher up on my list.
That's good then.
But when this came out, I think I was in high school. What's the year?
Yeah, it's 2006.
I was just going into high school.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It was Sonic Riders or Sonic 06. So you weren't playing Sonic 06, which means you were definitely playing this as a Sonic fan.
Yeah, and I feel like this kind of reminds me of when there was like Mario Kart and New Super Mario Bros. Coming out at the same time. It's like you got two very good games in the Sonic franchise. For me, because I was young. Maybe Sonic 06 isn't the best now, but to your point, like this game was just so well received back in the day.
It was. And it was, for a spin-off game, it was really good. Like all the bad guys were really cool as well, which is the green one, the purple one, and the gray one.
Yep.
And they were just so cool in the way that it was presented. I do agree that this game, once you've played it, there's zero replayability.
Yeah.
The only thing that you get is, how do I do this faster? How do I get through the missions a lot faster? And that's basically it. But if you were like an SSX Tricky fan from like the PlayStation 2 days, or if you were a Kirby Air Ride fan, this was the game for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it was just so enjoyable and so good. Also, I will speak to people my age about Sonic Riders, and every single reaction is, oh my god, that was an amazing game. It was so good.
Yeah.
It's almost like the spiritual successor to Sonic R, which was Sonic Racing.
Yep. Well, yeah, I'm glad we got a chance to talk about that. We'll definitely come back to it once we get to your part of the list with that. But now just coming back to you again, though. So what is the first C tier game for you?
Oh, man. Okay, so the first choice on my
I don't know what this is. I'm excited.
Oh, man. I don't know. She should be. Is Sonic Heroes. So this is the bottom of C tier.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So I wanted this game to be so good. Because this was on the GameCube.
It was, yeah.
This was coming off the heels of SA2. This was like the next big game that was coming out. And in concept, it's great. You know, you're in a team of 3. You get to cycle between being Sonic, Knuckles, or Tails for Team Hero. But then there's also 4 other teams. So if you do the math on that, 3 times 4, there's 12 different characters that you can play as. And that was huge. That was so big, considering SA2 only had 6.
Yep.
So there was a lot of hype, and the theme song for this was so good. I was like, man, I remember seeing the trailer and being like, yes, this is game of the year. This is going to be so good. And then I played it.
Oh.
And it was, what a letdown. What a disappointing game. The levels were cool. Same thing. The music, man, I'm telling you, this would be a completely different list if this was based off soundtracks.
Yeah.
Because the soundtrack was great. The level design was really enjoyable for the most part. But it just wasn't, the gameplay didn't feel right. The attacks didn't feel very good. Like, there's just so much that was missing from this, and it was just a big letdown.
Yeah, so for me with Sonic Heroes, I definitely play this one a lot at friends' houses. I had a cousin that had this game. And this is 2003, I believe. So yeah, like you said, it was a bit after SA2. I have this much higher on my list, as you know. So I think I might hold off to give my full opinions, but the reason why I love Sonic Heroes for me is that when I was a kid, I really liked the game Pac-Man World 2. I didn't play the first one, but I said this to Evan a couple days ago, that Sonic Heroes was like, it gave me vibes of that game, if that makes sense. So naturally, you get a game like Pac-Man World, and you give it to Sonic, and, you know, Sonic the Heroes, all the heroes that you could play as. I just really love this game, but we'll get back to it. So I guess we'll move on to my second game in the C tier. I've also, well, not also, but I will now bring up Sonic and the Secret Rings. This game to me, right? Like, I actually didn't own this game, or I don't think I physically played this game either. But I watched YouTubers play this online, so I'm very familiar with the lore and the story. It's from 2007, and it's one of those games where we'll get back to this kind of concept, but like, it's such a niche Sonic game where it's kind of like, it's like people like to say about other stuff, it's like Sonic's version of Cars 2. Like, this is just not your traditional Sonic game at all. It's like he's discovering secret rings, just give him powers and stuff. And I think you go supersonic in this game as well.
Yeah, I believe you do.
And I think that was one thing that kind of stood out to me when you do go supersonic, because the animation for Supersonic is always cool, but then this one, it's actually different, because I want to look up the name. It's not even Supersonic. It's actually called Dark Spine Sonic.
Wow.
Now, this is one of my favorite forms of Sonic, because like if we come back to me quickly, I just pulled up a photo of it on my computer so y'all could see.
Yeah, I would like to see.
He looks like this. So he's like purple and like Ultra Instinct-y. I love it. So when you play this game, or I guess in my case, when you watch this game as like a movie type beat, and you get to the end and you see Sonic with the secret rings and he goes Super Saiyan, God, whatever you want to call it, it's nuts. This is a better photo too, just so y'all could see. Like, these are some of the secret rings that are around him. So like, I could appreciate that.
Man,
know?
that's so cool.
It does look cool, and we haven't seen it since. That's why it's kind of like a one-off, right? Like, it does affect Sonic the character, but I don't think this game really gets referenced a lot in the lore or in the stories or the plots. That's why it's so low for me, despite how much I love it and appreciate it. It was kind of like you set it and forget it. You finish the game, and we are not getting these characters or forms ever again, unfortunately. So that's why it's so low for me on my C tier.
I will say, like, I watched kind of like the epilogue or the ending of Sonic and the Secret Rings, and it's really good.
Yeah.
It's really enjoyable. It feels really satisfying. So from a story standpoint, I think it's really fun and enjoyable. If anything, us talking about it makes me want to go and find a way to play it.
Yeah, amen to that.
That's probably what I'll do. Maybe this weekend. We'll see.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we'll come back to you, Evan. What do you got next for us on your C rankings?
Oh, man. You're not going to be happy with this one. I don't think you're going to be happy with any of these. So for me, it is Shadow the Hedgehog.
Oh,
which,
wow.
yeah.
What?
Oh, man.
He has a gun and he's a hedgehog. And he's black with red hair, red spikes. And he has glider shoes that are amazing. And he says in the first epilogue that he's going to kill the humans for betraying him. And he teams up with Sonic to do it. What more do you want?
So, sorry, half of this reaction for you is fantastic.
See, that's like your third worst game.
Needless to say, this is much higher up on your list. So the reason why I put Shadow so much lower is, once again, this is coming off the heels of, oh man, this is 2005.
Yeah, so this is like,
and this isn't even a mainline game. This is like a this is a B tier game.
Yeah, we put 2 spin-offs, and this is the second one.
Sonic Riders being the first.
Yeah.
It was so jarring to go from this, from like the original Sonic games to Sonic Shadow the Hedgehog. And this is the thing, I love Shadow. I think Shadow is such a cool character, but it was so jarring to go from this to that I was like, whoa, what is this? It's just, it's too edgy, you know what I'm saying? Just way too edgy. I know some of the gameplay feels really weird and really odd. I do like the idea of Shadow becoming this gun-wielding character. But yeah, it was just so different for me that I was just not a fan. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it's the worst. It's not in my D tier.
Yeah, you know, that is something.
Yeah, and it is enjoyable to a demographic. It's just not one of mine.
Okay, so before I'm not going to go deep into my thoughts, obviously, but to Evan's point, his take I don't even hate, because for me, so this game being a 2005 game, I think, and I said this actually off air, this might have been the first Sonic game I actually owned. So when I was growing up, I had Sonic Advance for the Game Boy Advance, that's not on here, and I had, and then I had Shadow the Hedgehog. So I didn't own any game we've actually spoken about thus far because I would play it at like other people's houses. So like I didn't really know a Sonic Sega life before Shadow. So for me, I kind of got thrown into the lines then. So I could see Evan's point to be like, well, we had the Sonic Adventure games, we had the classic Sonic games, even Sonic Heroes was a game by now, and then all those spin-offs in between, because like, you know, you grew up with those. For me, this was like my introduction to the franchise.
This was the intro for you.
So I don't hate that take, because it's like, well, this is nothing like the rest. And it is probably the most one-of-one game in the franchise. But for me, it was like the second one I ever played.
If I played it now, I would probably enjoy it much more. Yeah. But like when I played this, I was like, oh boy.
He had a strap. Like he had a motorcycle. He had cakes. He was like, these humans have been like, you know, tormenting me for too long. I must eliminate them. it got so bad that Sonic had to come in, and even he couldn't help him in the fight. But then he just, like, he popped shotguns in AK-47. How does that make sense? It doesn't, but it's Shadow the Hedgehog, man. He stands up, looks at the enemies, and goes like this with an AK-47. Like, that's all you need, man. But without further ado, we'll move on to my next one. Now, this is where kind of, for me, the hot takes start. But I'm going to elaborate in... Oh, yeah, actually, the next three are all hot takes. So my last one on the C tier, because I only have three, to conclude the C tier, I have gone with Sonic the Hedgehog 3, the OG trilogy. I've unfortunately gone with this one. This is such an amazing cover, by the way. Yeah, so out of the original 4 Sonic games of Sonic 1 to 3 and CD, this is by far my least played / least favorite. I'm not going to necessarily go out on a limb and hate on the game. It's very old. And I'm not saying it doesn't age, because I feel like all these Sonic 2D games age. But this one specifically is like, well, I would never play it again. And I say this because I just like Sonic 2, Sonic 1, and CD a lot more, to the point where I haven't even really replayed those games. And so, yeah, that's kind of why it falls here. I know that might be really jarring to say about, you know, the OG ones, but if we're going to be honest, this formula of Sonic game has 4 titles, and for me, it's just the quote-unquote worst. So I'm not going to put it over the aforementioned games that I had. So yeah, that's just why it falls so low for me. And like I said, I haven't even really replayed the other ones. So with that being said, this one I don't think I will ever play again.
Nope.
So yeah,
that's not even like an incorrect take.
Yeah. So,
I think that yeah. Yep. It's a little higher up on my list, but
yeah. So,
but not by much.
Yeah. So that concludes C for me. Evan, how many more C tier games?
My
do you
last
have?
C tier is, funny enough, the remake,
No.
Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Or it was the OG. It's really hard to tell what came first in this weird time, because this was the 90s. I don't really remember which came out first and which came out second. But yeah, I'm 90% sure Sonic and Knuckles was a remake, or just an add-on to Sonic 3.
Yep.
Because Sonic 3 is where Knuckles was introduced. Some people swear by Sonic and Knuckles being amazing. I do not have fond memories of it. Maybe it was because I was bad at it. I don't know. Because like the first level, it doesn't quite have the same flow of the other 2D Sonics, and that's kind of what makes or break one of the 2D Sonics, is like how much downtime is there when you're just hanging out on a platform doing nothing, you know? And I feel like with Sonic and Knuckles, there's a lot of that.
What's really funny to your point, so I do have this on my list a bit higher, so I'll relay on it then on my actual points. But fun fact, Sonic 3 came out in February of 94, and this came out in October of 94.
Oh.
So yeah, kind of like what you said, it's really just to pick your poison. Now, funny enough, I know I just said that formula of game is not really replayable for me. On a technicality, I actually have replayed Sonic and Knuckles, hence why it is where it is for me. So yeah, I mean, kind of to your point, it's not really a traditional flowing Sonic game. However, you know what? It has Knuckles, and I'll elaborate a bit on it a bit more after. So yeah, so we're going to be moving on now to other parts on the tier. We do have, we got B, A, and S left to go. So this will be pretty cool, because this is overall just like our rankings based on like personal favorites, gameplay experiences, and the next one on my list. So we're going to start the B tier now. This might be the hot take, and another one, but we do have Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Now, great, it's a great game. Don't get me wrong, it is. Sonic and Tails, as people call it as well. I love this classic Sonic look. That's why I'm wearing the shirt. I love Tails. But yeah, honestly, I don't want to like hate on it too much, but just that formula of Sonic game is good, but this is actually like not one that I will play.
You're just hating on the 90s right now.
We'll see, because I have a good point that I want to make, but I can only make it after the next game.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. Without these games, there would be no Sonic franchise, but I think because of my age, I grew up in the 3D Sonic era, so I don't really have like... Well, I do have a 2D Sonic game that I actually grew up with, which is what I will get to, but with that being said, the 2D games for me don't quote unquote hit because I wasn't around for the hype. By the time I was born, like the Sonic Mario rivalry was over. They were on each other's consoles. Like, so to me, like this era of Sonic just isn't for me because I just wasn't born. So these games are probably like some of the best ones, but I do have a point to make after the next segment or after the next game on my list, and I think that's when people will understand.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so Sonic 2 falls here for probably the same reasons as Sonic 3.
This is much higher on my list,
Okay.
substantially higher, because I was growing up during this time,
Yep.
which was the Nintendo versus the Sega Genesis. And it was, man, that was a war.
Yeah.
It was tough to see who would come out with what. And
Sega does what
Sega had
Nintendo-
just come out with the Sega Genesis
Yep.
at the time. And there was some good stuff on there, but like, as you can tell, it didn't last. There is no Sega-based console anymore, and
Yep.
they're making all their stuff to go on Nintendo at this time. So,
Yeah,
I'll
just
I'll
move
talk
on.
more about this a little bit later.
Yep. So we'll move on to just your next one. So does your B tier start now then as well?
Yes, my B tier starts now.
All right.
And I don't think any of these games are bad per se.
Yeah.
I just don't think they're as good as other ones. So the first on my B tier is Sonic Unleashed.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Twilight Princess Sonic Edition.
Pretty much, that's what it is.
I know we said that the other day.
We did. And I enjoyed Sonic Unleashed, and I thought it was really enjoyable. There's just other games I enjoy more. It's definitely not a bad game per se. I've always liked the idea of Sonic changing into different forms throughout different missions and what's going on. So overall, it's still really enjoyable and really good. Also, one of the best soundtracks. It's so good.
You're right. Yeah, no, this game is hard for me as well. Now, when I was growing up with this game, I actually wanted to hate it so badly, but it was like my guilty pleasure game, Sonic Unleashed. So in my adult age where I've matured, I'll tell you what I think about it then. But yeah, so I guess we'll move on quickly to my next one, if that's okay with you. This is where I have the OG Sonic the Hedgehog game. Now, this is the one from 1991 on the original Sega Genesis. And yeah, this is the game that started it all. One of the most iconic screens in gaming history, if you ask me. Green Hill Zone, just 10 out of 10. Just amazing game. Now, here is why these games are so low for me. Because I grew up in the DS era, my 2D Sonic game is Sonic Rush. Now, Sonic Rush is a spin-off, so it's not on here, but Sonic Rush with Sonic and then Rouge the Cat, or Blaze the Cat, sorry. Yeah, honestly, for me, like, what these games were to, like, the 80s and 90s kids is what Sonic Rush was to me. So as much as I love and appreciate these games, if I were to sit down and play a 2D Sonic game, it would be Rush, like 10 out of 10 times, with the maybe exception of Sonic Advance. But then again, I would still probably take Sonic Rush. So just because that's like my experience, if you had a DS in front of me or a Sega in front of me, I would take the Sonic Rush over these games. I know that's a really hot take, but that's just me. So I don't actually want to hate on this game because I do think it is the staple of the franchise. Started it all, this most iconic screen. And yeah, classic Sonic I'm actually rocking today. So that's all I really got for that trilogy. Unfortunately, it just wasn't really my era of gaming. But I have played it, obviously.
We're pretty close to starting to overlap with games.
That's good.
Sonic the Hedgehog, the original from 1981, is a little higher on my list. But I'll expand on that later.
Okay, cool. So, yep, we'll move straight on to your next pick in the B tier. Really excited to hear yours.
So this is now we are starting to overlap because now mine is Sonic 3.
Okay, yeah. So I want to hear your full take on this, just as I
right.
already explained.
So Sonic 3 coming out, it was enjoyable and it was good. It was the introduction of Knuckles, which is an iconic character, and it's a really enjoyable game. For me, it wasn't quite as good of like Sonic 2. Sonic 2 is higher than this. And yeah, you kind of touched on everything that I was going to, but like, yeah, it's good and it's enjoyable. But it's kind of got the same problems that I felt like Sonic and Knuckles did, where too many moments where you're waiting on elevators to go up. There's too many moments where you're just waiting to do. Also, none of these levels are memorable in the slightest, which I also think is a big problem because I can think of many other games that I had much more enjoyable moments with, and none of them are from Sonic 3.
Yeah. I would say, just to quickly relay on all those points, when I see Sonic in this image, I think of Sonic Underground. So it looks kind of similar,
Man.
but I don't
Sonic
even think
Underground.
about that game. So
One time, you just threw me through like a nostalgia trip.
we
right
should
there.
do this episode again, but Sonic like TV shows. And
There's only
movies.
2. It's
There's-
either Sonic X or Sonic Underground.
Well, no, there's
There is no other option.
there's like 5 other shows.
They don't count.
Fair, it's okay. But okay, cool. So that being said, we'll move on to my next one. And now this is where the hot take starts, I guess, for me, like personally for me, because I actually do have at the next B tier, I have Sonic Generations, the one from the OG time. And now this one just boils my blood. So I mentioned this in a past episode. My biggest gripe with this game is it actually ruins the whole Sonic Sega lore. And when I mean ruins it, I mean like, no, it officially decanonizes a lot of things. And this is kind of like Sonic's version of DC's New 42 or New 52, sorry. Only we did not need this. So that's why I actually my whole life hated this game. But then recently with the announcements of Sonic Generations 2 or Sonic X Shadow Generations, I've gone back to this game, looked at the lore, looked at the gameplay again, looked at the artwork, the cutscenes, and I realized that like for what it does, it's still bad. Like I'm never gonna be like, yeah, it's okay they did that. I will never. But for what the game is on face value and not looking deep into it, it is a really fun game. And I think Evan convinced me the other day when he said, well, look, man, they take some of the best levels in Sonic and actually make them like way more enjoyable because like modern times and like the music is back. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Like some of these levels that you play in the old games, for me, with my thesis statement about the original games, I would just prefer to play them in Sonic Generations. So I have it at the lower part of my B tier, but I've definitely like ranked it a bit higher than I would have a couple months ago.
This is much higher for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I have points as to why it's not my number 1 or not like in that area. But I'll touch on that when it comes up for me.
All right, sounds good. Well, we'll throw it back to you. What is the next one on your B tier? Because I'm excited for this one. Hopefully.
Sorry, technical issues. Okay, here we go. So this was my first Sonic the Hedgehog game.
This is a peak game right
which
here.
was Sonic CD. The reason why it's middle of the road, middle of the B tier, man, mostly because it's mostly just a CD port from the original Sonic the Hedgehog. So they just made it so that it was compatible with your Sega Dreamcast and your CD. It was the first introduction of Metal Sonic, which was really cool and really enjoyable. Yeah, it was. I have so many interesting memories of this game because
It's a great game.
it was so good and it was really enjoyable. I was bad at it, very bad at it.
This to me is peak classic Sonic, and I'll expand upon it a bit more. But the one point that I will make just while we're on topic of discussion is that cover art is so cool, man. To see Sonic, classic Sonic, squaring up with Metal Sonic, dude, this is awesome. This is very peak. And I think for me, like Evan said, Sega was kind of ahead of its time in the sense of like they made their games backwards compatible the way this one does. And I think for me, that's why it goes a long way, because if you're growing up in this era, you could get this no matter what if you're a Sega person. I think today, if I had like a PS4, ain't no way they're making a top quality game for the PS5 I'm going to be able to play. So I can't appreciate that. For
So,
sure.
Justin, we have a surprise call-in about our show, which is very shocking. We don't do call-ins
Whoa, Blood Cloud, who's this?
So, give me 2 seconds. This is Liz calling in.
Liz!
Yeah.
Shout out Liz,
she has
man.
some thoughts about what is the best Sonic
Oh
game.
my god.
I know, this never happened. Surprise call-in. Okay, hold on.
Sorry, I hope you don't mind, dude.
Liz!
All good. All right, Liz, you're on the air.
All right, I just had to call in to set the record straight. I don't know if it's been said yet, but Sonic Adventure 2 Battle is the best of all Sonic games that ever existed. I'm going to lay it out straight for you guys here. There are 5 reasons.
Liz is dropping a
this is the best game
promo.
in the world. First off, the storyline. The
What?
storyline cannot be beat. Have you ever fully finished the storyline in this game? Because if you have, you know what I'm talking about. That redemption arc for Shadow, it hits the heart, man. It hits the heart. Maria, we gotta count her in, you know?
We should
Number
put
two,
SA2 up quickly.
The Chow Garden. Number 2 could be number 2 and 3, because not only do you have the Chow Garden, where you get to mix and match all of the incredible chows with your extra animals with the chaos points, all of those amazing things. It's incredible. Catch an egg. It's great. You get to come in, out. You don't have to be in story mode to really fully get the Chow Garden. On top of that, they also have Chow Karate. Who doesn't like karate? Come on now. The mini games are unparalleled, which could be my number 4. Who gets what other game do you get Mario Kart within a Sonic game? Come on, man. This is top tier. If you haven't finished all your golden rings, go back and give Sonic X Battle another try, because there are so many different games. You can do the 100-coin dash, you can do the time challenge, you can find the missing Chow, and then you also got the Mystic Melodies that open up a whole new storyline. It is unparalleled, and I am disappointed if this one has not made the list.
Well, spoiler alert, Liz, it will be on.
It is on the list eventually. We're about like halfway through though.
All right, well, I had to be up there, so I had to call this one in. Thanks for taking my call.
Oh, man, thank you, Liz.
Is that the first call in the history of Riot Radio?
Oh my god. So, okay, well, that was a funny little break we had there. I'm like, as the host of the show on air, I feel like I've now been outdone. How do I follow that?
I don't know, man.
Like,
we're not even on SA2.
Yeah, like I was like, just put up SA2 while we're at it. Let's just get the full experience. Well, okay, so were we on my next game?
We were. So we just finished Sonic CD. So whatever you're next on the B
tier is. Okay. So this game for me. Now, I didn't realize people didn't like this game like that until yesterday. I'm going to Sonic Heroes. Now, Evan, I know you've already mentioned it, so I don't think... I mean, you could relay if you want, but I will just take the floor here with Sonic Heroes. Now, this game is one of the first, if not the first, like, game I could remember playing Sonic-wise on, like, a 3D standpoint, because I'll elaborate on that later. But... when I think of Sonic when I was growing up in the 2000s, this was the game. And I say this because I was like a Shadow the Hedgehog guy, but if it was Sonic, it was one of 2 games, and this is the one I think of. I'll get to the other one after. Like I said, love Sonic Advance, love Sonic Rush, but those aren't the mainline. But we're talking about the mainline series. This is probably the first one that I really was like, okay, cool. You know what? This is the one that I'm playing. This is my Sonic experience. It's just fun. And one thing that I'm going to add as well is that my favorite color growing up was red. So a game with Knuckles, oh man, peak. So I appreciate Sonic Heroes. Like I said, it gave me Pac-Man World vibes as well. And it's a game that I would replay. Like, in theory, if like Evan brought in his GameCube in this game, like, oh no, like I'm begging to play this game. So this is a game that if I owned it myself, I probably would have it 100% done. I just played it a lot at my cousin's house. But yeah, so that's Sonic Heroes for me. Love the game. Timeless classic to me. Apparently not for everyone. This is kind of where I guess our generations might come to play.
I'm just so happy that somebody was like, yes, this is an amazing game, and it is their favorite. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It didn't do it for me, but I'm glad that it was somebody's, a favorite of the time. This was like, yes, this is my 100%. I'm going to play this.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll move on to your next one. Don't want to dwell too much on this, but yeah. So what is your next one in the B tier?
Oh man. So my next one is... Whoa, here it is. We're almost there.
Oh, my days. Sneezed.
Sonic OG.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Sonic OG was amazing. Green Hill Zone, all the amazing levels. This is also like the first game that gave me like major anxiety while playing a game.
Yep.
Because the one thing I knew about going into every Sonic game, Sonic can't swim. That's the only thing like I definitively know for certain. And when you're entering water in this, they do that warning of bump, 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 and it progressively gets faster and faster and faster until you run out of air and, not have a good time anymore.
Yep.
But yeah, the original Sonic is timeless. It's so good. This was the game that went toe-to-toe with Mario and started kind of the Sega Nintendo brawl, I guess you could say. So... there's a reason why Sonic was also like the #1 requested character to get into Smash Brothers. And this is what started it all. So for me, it can't be any higher than this though, because there are better games later on.
Yep, that's totally fine. Just keeping up the image quickly. I know I discussed it. So all I'm going to add is this. Evan, you know what I never noticed about this cover? Sonic is literally acknowledging Roman Reigns as a tribal chief.
He is acknowledging Roman Reigns, probably before Roman Reigns even existed.
So Brownie points to Sonic OG
He
for
knew
this.
in 1991 who the tribal chief was.
On God, bro. On God. But yeah, honestly, like I said, got a lot of love for the OG Sonic. Not my type of games because it was just a bit before me. But these next two, I was actually able to play a lot more than you know what, than I would have thought. So we're going to come back to Knuckles, as we do have Sonic and Knuckles for me as my next one on my B tier. Now, you guys are going to laugh, but this cover might be my favorite cover in all of Sonic. There's something about it where I've tried to, like, definitely top 3. Like, I'd probably put this up there with the other ones that I'll discuss later on. But no, this cover to me is so cool. It's so simple and unique. It just Sega Genesis, Sonic and Knuckles, and then just, like, oh man, it was so nostalgic for me. And kind of like what Evan said, yes, it is, I guess, like an add-on to Sonic 3, but it's so much more than that for me. And I think the Knuckles levels in this game I just really enjoyed, because I really enjoyed like just playing as Knuckles. I thought, you know what, Sonic was cool, but like little Justin was like, Sonic is blue, like I want the red character, and Knuckles was just that. I think that's also maybe another reason why I like this more than Sonic 1, 2, and 3, because I could play as Knuckles and he was a red character. So yeah, to me, like, I know the other games I didn't play as much, but I did play this one particular a lot when I was younger. So for me, this is the second best 2D Sonic game they've ever made in the main line. We'll get to I think that kind of reveals my number 1, but yeah, so that's my take on Sonic and Knuckles for sure.
Good points. Yeah, 100%. I love Knuckles, and I think the best thing is when you look at Sonic as a character, Sonic is the rebel, the fast, I do what I want when I want kind of character, whereas Knuckles is almost like his polar opposite.
Yes.
Focuses less on speed, more on physical strength, is very duty bound to do his job on Angel Island, and he's a great foil for Sonic, and I think that's why Sonic and Knuckles were so successful as a character duo.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yeah, so that's all I got for Sonic and Knuckles. We'll come back to you, Evan. Just to clarify, we're still in B tier for you as well, right?
No, we are now into the A tier
we
for
are.
me.
Okay, cool. So should I just finish off my B tier
Yeah,
then?
finish off.
Okay, cool. So I teased it. We're going back to Sonic CD. To me, when I was younger, I thought the title of this game was stupid, to be honest. I was a kid. I'm like, why is it called Sonic CD? CDs are music. This is a video game. This is peak 2D Sonic for me. This, I probably do have it ahead of Sonic Rush in terms of like what's a better game. Sonic Rush to me though is my, like, you know, Sonic CD. And I say this because Sonic Rush was Sonic and Blaze. Those were the characters that were fighting, and you kind of play through the story and you guys fight throughout. But in Sonic CD, you got Sonic and Metal Sonic. And in terms of a clone villain, I don't necessarily consider Shadow a clone villain. He's more of an anti-hero. But Metal Sonic is one of the best clone villains, I think, in all of video game history. And I say this because I know he is like a robotic Sonic, but he's so much more than that. He actually, at one point in various comics and lore, beats Sonic in terms of physical speed. And he also, which I found out recently with the help of like the Mega Chaos Emerald, could go Super Metal Sonic. So I love this game. I think if you've never played this game, you should look up the levels where you're running as Sonic and then Metal Sonic appears in the sky and like comes in. I think it was just so cool. So yeah, that's my take on Sonic CD, and I think we'll just go straight on to my next game. This finishes off the B tier. Now, this is where we're gonna have my emotions come out, because we do have the one and only Sonic 06, the most underappreciated video game in human history. And I'll die on the hill. I'll die on the hill. Because for me, when I was a little kid in 2006 playing this game, there was no such thing as bugs, or like fast production, or rumors, or this, or that. There was just my hedgehog, okay? This game had every character under the sun. It was the commemorative, unofficial 15th anniversary release, because this came out 15 years after Sonic OG. And this game was awesome. I did not know people did not like Sonic 06 till recently. And I say this because it was made for, well, not necessarily made for just kids, but when I was young, I was like, dude, this is sick. I was like, this guy's amazing. This game probably got me into Sonic, if I'm going to be honest, in terms of like actually being old enough to remember playing it, fabricating my own opinions, enjoying the universe too, not just the characters, because or not just the character of Sonic. This made me enjoy everyone under the sun. So yeah, for me, it's the most underappreciated game, and I feel like if it got a remaster, and hear those words, remaster. Not like just okay, cool, or re-releasing it, reporting it. Give us Project 06, but officially done by Sega, and this game would probably be way higher. And I think we could both agree on that, because it is buggy. At the end of the day, it is. I'm not gonna not acknowledge that. It's just when I'm a kid, I'm not really thinking about all that. So that's just why I have a lot of love for it.
Justin's like, it's not a buggy mess, it's my buggy mess.
Exactly. So,
but I agree with you. I think that if Sega Team were to monetize a new Sonic 06, I think that would be perfect. And they don't even really need to change the title. They can just be like, or if they do, they should change the title, and it should just be called Sonic 06, the True Vision or something like that.
yeah, or just call it like, instead of Sonic the Hedgehog, call it the Sonic the Hedgehog. Boom.
All right, there we go.
Yeah, drop
why
the
not?
just Facebook. You know. But anywho, so that concludes my B tier. Evan, to start the A tier, we'll come to you as I just gave a couple games. So off rip, before we do, there's only 6 games remaining. So this will be a cool top 6 for sure.
I have 7.
7. Which one did I forget? Oh, yeah, because I had, yes, okay.
Yes,
so,
because you just went one a little sooner. That's okay.
Yep. So with that being said, though, let's go to you. What is the first game in the A tier for
We
you?
have Sonic Riders.
Dun, dun, dun,
Amazing.
dun. Let's go. What
I
a
love Sonic
great
Riders.
game.
Now, I'm also kind of biased on this one because I love racing games. One of the reasons why I like Sonic as a character is because he goes fast. And when they released this game, there was so much hype around it too.
Yes.
It was like, yeah, we're getting a new Sonic. Yeah, it's a racing game. These hoverboards are super cool. I remember this being like my most requested game at the time, because it came out and Christmas was rolling around.
Yes.
And I was like, yo, I want this. This looks so good. It looks so fun. Never got it.
Oh,
You know why? Sold out everywhere.
Really?
Couldn't get it. And by the
damn. That's
time,
nuts.
yeah. By the time like we rolled out and we tried to get it, my interest in it had already faded and I'd already forgotten about it. Why? Because I was a teenager.
Yeah.
A young teenager when this came out. So yeah, I was super hyped about it and super enjoyed it. Even revisiting this, it's always a pleasure and it's always a good time.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, it's up there with one of those games.
Oh, my bad. Sorry.
If I were to be objective about it, this probably isn't as good as some of the previous games I've mentioned. But like I said, I'm biased on this one.
No, that's totally fine. I was gonna say, in theory, if they remastered this, I feel like it would be pretty cool. Maybe give it more of a story as well. But yeah, great game. And I will ask you this now, because I know you're a big F1 guy. Who do you think would win in a race between Max Verstappen with like his dad pressuring him, or Sonic on Sonic Riders? That's a big question right there.
Sonic on Sonic Riders isn't as fast as Sonic himself.
Exactly. We have to
So
nerf
it's
him down
got to
to
go
help
do
Verstappen.
you know?
Exactly. Let's go. Play me that anthem. Okay, cool. So we'll start off with my A tier. Now this is where it gets kind of spicy, because for me, I'm looking at it, and I don't, out of the mainline games, these are by far, I would say, the 6 that I would probably like revisit and play. Sonic 06 kind of misses the cut because I don't want to replay it and have my childhood ruined. So that being said, the first one we got is Sonic Unleashed. Now, I did tease this earlier. Now, Sonic Unleashed was something. It was the game of all time, as they say. When I was a kid, I wanted to hate this game because I thought the Werehog was on, well, you know, I said out loud it was like the stupidest thing ever. But like deep down inside, oh man, such a cool concept. Like I absolutely loved it. I thought it was so cool that as soon as it became nighttime, this guy became a Werehog. What does that even mean? I don't know. But Sonic. So we had a fast werewolf, man. In the age of Twilight and all that jazz, what does Sega do? You know what? Werehog. It was amazing. And it's one of those games where, did that just happen? Did we just play Sonic as a werehog? Not a werewolf, a werehog? We did, and it worked. I would say it worked because the way this gameplay is, in comparison to any Sonic game that came before it, it's probably the most smooth Sonic game you've ever played at the time. That actually could just still stand to this day, to be completely honest with you. You had a smooth Sonic game. You had a game that was something very new, as we got the Werehog. And it was just a game that you couldn't really hate if you liked Sonic because it was giving you something different. When I think back to the different Sonic games when I was younger, I think back to, you know, all the ones we mentioned. I won't say anything else. But Sonic the Werehog was such a one-of-one form. And for me, I couldn't hate it. It also recently just got a Funko Pop as well, so there's clearly still, you know, fans there of that game, and I just thought it was amazing. Shout out to my boy Dante. This guy watches all the pods, bro. W-Mans always supports, and this is his favorite Sonic game. So thank you, bro, for always watching. You already know the love is really appreciated. So I had to put Sonic Unleashed high on this list because I do love it as well. So yeah, Evan, that is my take on Sonic Unleashed.
Man, you're not even wrong.
Yeah,
it's just an amazing
it was
game.
So good, man.
Honestly,
so good.
now that you're talking it up, I'm like, yo, I really wanna play this game now.
Yep. So we'll go back to you now for the A tier.
I consider this like the bottom of like my true list of, because Sonic Riders is a spin-off. But I have to say, objectively, the best. It's the best of the rest in terms of Sonic games, and that is Sonic Colors.
Ooh, nice.
I love Sonic Colors. Excellent game. This was like the revival of Sonic games.
I'm with you on that.
When this came out, man, Sonic was at like an all-time low in terms of quality. And it's so good. The theme song was great. It was bright. It was colorful. It was really enjoyable. I liked all of these. I don't remember what they're called. These little alien things.
Oh, the sprites, no?
The sprites, yeah.
I think that's what they were called.
Probably. The levels were really fun and enjoyable. It wasn't too challenging. It was inviting for everyone. I liked the voice acting. I liked the story. Everything about it was great. And this was now the beginning of the upward trend of Sonic games.
Yeah, you know what? I'll get into this game, a bit more. But yeah, this game is just really close to my heart. I actually do own this copy. Like, this was mine. And this was one of the first Sonic games I actually like played and owned and had the whole 100% experience, if you will. Love that game. We'll get back to it just because I don't really want to, deep dive onto it. But yeah, okay, so Sonic Colors starts off your A tier, I guess, best of the rest. We'll go into my official top 5 now. So these games, to me, if these are top 5, I don't really care about the order. So number 5, we're going with Sonic and the Black Knight. Now, we touched upon this really early on in the episode, so I'll come back to it now. Yeah, this game, phenomenal. Like, absolutely amazing. It takes Sonic and puts him in an alternate universe, in, I guess, medieval times, where he's like the unofficial Sir Lancelot. And from there, he has to fight I forget what the actual, what that guy's called, the villain. But with that being said, you end up meeting all of like your friends, so Amy, Tails, Knuckles, Shadow, and you don't actually know them as them because they just take up the names of different characters within it. So I really like this because, like, Shadow, for example, I lied. Shadow's Lancelot. I think Sonic is King Arthur unofficially, and yeah, it was just amazing because it didn't really affect the lore. And I say this because no one else besides like main Sonic is gonna know about this game. And then with that being said, you get one of the coolest power-ups at the end when you go like, I don't even know what you call it, Excalibur Sonic, that's what it was called. So Sonic like transforms and you get like a Super Sonic in like a knight armor. It's wild if I'm gonna be honest with you. But with that being said, it was just peak. I'm gonna try and find a photo of it here. Yeah, here we go. Like, Excalibur Sonic, similar to the one that we had earlier, it's just pretty peak.
It's like, just Super Sonic, but he's got gold armor.
Like, it was so cool. And like, you never come back to this series at all, because I'm pretty sure at the end of the game that one of the characters you meet gives you like a bracelet. I think it's this game, and he goes, "Always remember me." You never see that bracelet again. You never see that character again.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that was.
We never remembered him.
So with that being said, it's such a one-off game to where like you can make it wild, you can make it extravagant, you could make him go Excalibur, and it works. To me, this was like, I know you mentioned Sonic Colors, but I think Black Knight came out a bit before. To me, this was the Sonic that was getting it back on track. Because to me, I was like, damn, Black Knight, what a game. And so I hate that it's not like we never went back to that story. We haven't seen Excalibur Sonic since. Just amazing game for me. So yeah, that's my fifth ranked game.
Very nice. Very good. My number 5, just to speed this up a little bit, is Sonic Frontiers.
Oh, okay, W.
Man. So, Sonic Frontiers, fantastic. First open world Sonic game. Very enjoyable, very good. The gameplay feels good, and there was a lot of question marks about this game when it was coming out, too. Because everyone was like, ooh, they're taking a chance on another thing that might not work. But it worked out really well. I haven't heard any negative criticism about this game. It looks really good. It looks really enjoyable. I really enjoyed what I did play of it. I haven't finished it, but the most impressive thing for me about this game is there was a fan writer for the comics, online comics, not official by Sega, was this guy writing his own comics because he thought they were really, because he loved the characters and he loved the storylines. So Sega recognized what he was doing and was like, okay, these are pretty good. I want you to come in. I want you to write for Sonic Frontiers.
Really? That's
and it's
awesome.
Really good. Like, there's so much
That makes
character
me wanna
development.
play it, yeah.
Like, unexpected character development from every character. In
Dude,
a
that's
sense
sick.
that they almost come to the realization that where they are in terms of relation to their friendship with Sonic is very different from what they wanted. It's so good. I think Tails probably has, like, the best character development in this game.
Yeah, wow, man. I had no clue about that backstory. That just makes me want to play it even more, to be honest. Don't own it. Evan, do you own the game? I think you do, or no?
No, I've only played it. Just a little bit, but I don't own it.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely a game that I would have if games weren't so expensive. So, yep, just to speed it up, we'll go to my next one that I have here. So this concludes the A tier. This is the final one in A. And we have Sonic Adventure. So Sonic Adventure 1 we have. Now, oh man, is it a cardinal sin that this is number 4, Evan?
So just to clarify, this is the top of your A list?
Yes.
This is the top of my A as well.
Oh, okay, so let's just bang it out
perfect.
right here. Okay, perfect.
I knew we were going to have one of these.
Do you have one before this? Like, or is
No,
your-
this is the last of my A.
Okay, cool. So yeah, we could just both talk about it now. Yeah. So for me, Sonic Adventure, to an extent, is kind of like, it's like the Mario Galaxy of Sonic, and I'll like elaborate quickly because Sonic Adventure 1 is very good. Some could say is like a 10 out of 10 game. The review I'm looking at right now gives it a 5 out of 5, but its biggest downfall is its success, and that is probably Sonic Adventure 2. Now, I'm not saying that this game has no replayability because it does, but with that being said, it just has a successor that a lot of people think is better. And I feel like if SA2 didn't exist, this would probably be recognized as the best Sonic game ever. Don't know if that's a hot take.
Nope.
But that's just how I look at it. It was very good, very fun. And again, it only doesn't have quote unquote replayability because you're always going to take SA2 over SA1, unfortunately.
The only fallback and the only drawback to this game is its character selection. Its character selection sucks. It's
Yeah.
not very good. Some might say it's really enjoyable and really good, but like no one wants to play as Omega 6.
What?
No one wants. Like, would you take Omega 6 over Shadow?
No.
No. No one wants to play as Big the Cat.
What?
Nah. And that's the only thing that really ruins it for me is just like the moment I get to unlock these characters and I have to complete their story to finish the game, I'm like, motivation to play is non-existent.
Yeah. Do you remember getting this game when you were younger and whatnot? Or like, but you'd say probably, I guess SA2 is just, we'll get to SA2.
We'll get to
I guess.
SA2. Don't you worry.
I would say, I'm sorry, Sonic, but this is his reaction after that take from us. This is Sonic. he's like,
That
bro,
is-
what?
That is not edited. That is from the game.
Yeah, that is from the game. So I can appreciate, sorry, SA1, but we'll get to it. So guess we're going to move to the top S tier ranks now. So do you want me to go first? I'll give you my...
Yeah, you go ahead.
So my number 3 game, and I'm sorry, Liz, but it is SA2. That's number 3 for me. So this cover, by the way, is the best. So I know I mentioned the other one, Sonic and Knuckles, might be. No, this is the best cover they've ever done. Sonic Adventure 2 story is the best Sonic story to me. They've done it 3 different times now across a couple games and Sonic X. Amazing. My only gripe with it is that I have probably touched this game once. So with that being said,
that's a cardinal sin right there.
it is, and we're trying to get me to get the game. I'm trying to find it.
We're
I
working
want to
on
get
it.
it. We are working. That's been a goal for like the past 3 months, but we're trying.
But it's true. It's really tough to find this game specifically now,
Yeah.
unless you have Steam. It is available, but not everyone has a gaming PC or a PC that can play it.
Yeah.
Or even have Steam in general. That's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort. Plus, it doesn't even feel remotely the same as playing it on the GameCube.
Exactly. So I have the resources for the GameCube. Like I own a Wii with the OG Wii,
Oh,
so I
nice.
could just
Good.
plug it in, or I could just find the GameCube somewhere. But with that being said, if I get my hands on a copy, I could play it.
When's your birthday?
November. So I know I want to get it before.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. But with that being said, though, this game, for everything that Liz mentioned earlier and everything that Evan's going to mention, I'm just going to leave it as it's historic. It's a staple. It's just amazing. Now, because I didn't play it the way maybe Evan has played it, that's all I'm going to say. But like I said, the story to this game, the best story Sonic has ever told. So, Evan, we'll come back to you. What do we got next?
Sonic 2.
Oh, this made the top 3.
Yeah,
Okay.
Sonic 2 is fantastic. This is in my top 3. Just because it was the first introduction of Tails, it was the first introduction of co-op Sonic on a 2D platformer, and it's got some of the best level design ever. It basically took everything from the first Sonic and made it a billion times better. And I feel like most trilogies, they kind of go in this order. The first one's good, the second one's better, and the third one fails to improve on the second. And that seems to be the tales of the Sonic trilogy. So yeah, it's fantastic, amazing, love it.
Yeah, I wish I had more of a connection to it. Like I said earlier on in the episode, just wasn't what I grew up with, but I could appreciate it. I put it in B tier. But yeah, not mad at that. So now the illustrious top 2. I think we know what my top 2 are. So we're going to get to it right now. This one, this is my favorite Sonic game ever, Sega game. And it is one of my favorite video games of all time. But this was the hardest choice, was to put this at number 2. It was the hardest choice. But we are going with Shadow the Hedgehog. This is my number 2. I put it number 2.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, I put it number 2. Now, if we were talking...
What's your number 1 then?
If this title was best Sega games, this would be number 1. I just, in my good gracious, couldn't do a Sonic episode ranking mainline Sonic games. Begged to put in a spin-off and put the spin-off at number 1. This is my favorite, though. Like I said, it is. No questions about it. Shadow the Hedgehog, to this day, is my favorite Sega character by far, and it's the reason why I'm a Sonic fan. But for our requirements of what this episode is, this game doesn't even match it. You know,
doesn't even count.
It doesn't. So I couldn't do that. So I will say this. This game for me was what got me into it, and I thought this character was so cool. He was destroying the city, fighting aliens, fighting Sonic, shooting people, riding around his motorcycle. He was a character that... It was kind of like Shadow the Hedgehog was the boys before the boys were the boys. And I say this if you play this game. And I'm not even saying that to like be funny. This guy cusses. My friends didn't believe me. Dude, yes, he did. He would cuss. I can't cuss on air, but this guy was like cussing out Sonic, saying he, and I quote, will eliminate these humans. He was like, it was crazy because he was a hedgehog. That's the thing. It's all about a hedgehog. But he was a hedgehog that just went through so much trauma, lost Maria. And see, Liz mentioned this earlier. So this story acknowledges and retells SA2 in a way. And it was just so good. I think to me, what Shadow the Hedgehog is the pinnacle of the cool bad guy. I think that he's like our Vegeta, if we're talking Sega. So for me, this game is my favorite Sonic game ever. One of my favorite video games of all time, period. And the soundtrack's amazing. The bike's iconic. That cocking of the AK-47 just still makes no sense, but it's amazing. So yeah, we got Sonic Movie 3 this year, and I'm really excited because Shadow will be in it, and we got Sonic X Shadow Generations. So yeah, it made number 2. If this was just best Sega games, this would be number 1, but this doesn't even match the requirements to be on here. So that's why I had to put it number 2.
Fair. So my
Love
number
that
2
game.
is Sonic Generations.
Oh,
Whoa.
getting spicy here, eh?
Surprise. I know you loathe this game.
I did.
And that's okay. I respect your choices make sense, and theoretically it makes sense. However, I think this is a true love letter to the Sonic games, and
Yes.
that's why it's so good. I love the remastered and redone classic levels. I like the classic spin on modern levels that make it really good. I do agree the story is super lame and really not, but you're not playing it for the game. You're playing it for the
You're
memories.
right. Yeah.
So for me, this is without question my number 2. It's super fun, super enjoyable. I will also say it gives out your S rank like
Oh man, it's
like
amazing.
it's too easy. Just don't die.
Yeah,
That's
like,
all it is.
Someone said recently, this game is motivating because it's so easy, and you get that S rank, you 100% it as you go, and you get that dance animation at the end. So yeah, kind of like what you said, playing this game for what the game is and not the story, it's very fun. So I love that pick from you. So I guess we'll move on to my final pick, the number one, the S tier game, the best Sonic game of all time. Has to be Sonic Colors for me. This game is the game. When I think of Sonic, there's no game that comes close for me. Now, it is my SA2, if you will. It's my OG Sonic because this was one of the first this is the first mainline game, that I actually owned. Surprisingly, like, I had all the spin-offs growing up. Not all, but I had most of the spin-offs. I played the mainlines at other people's houses, but this was, for me, the first. And just amazing. The soundtrack, to me, this is the best soundtrack across any game as well. I just loved playing it. And it was cool because, like, Eggman kind of builds like an amusement park in space that you're running through. So the level designs are crazy. And it was really fun to 100% the game. This cover art also is peak. It's just amazing. So I could go on about Sonic Colors forever, but yeah, this to me is my number one. Was that surprising for you, Evan? Did you really clock that?
Not even a little bit.
Okay.
As soon as you said it, I was like, yep, that makes sense. Yeah.
Just amazing.
Which is funny you mentioned that because my top 2 levels that I enjoy playing in Sonic Generations is Sonic Colors, the generation they do, and Sonic Adventure 2, which is City Escape.
Exactly, right. So that's what I got for Sonic Colors. That's overall my list. Throw it back to Evan as he will conclude the list officially here.
Shocker. Surprise.
Oh, man,
I
amazing.
love Sonic Adventure 2. I don't know if I could describe it nearly as well as Liz phoning in.
I know, eh? That kind of puts us both to
an
shame.
epic rant. It was fantastic. But she's so right. She's completely right. One of the best games ever. Excellent 6-player or 6-character choices. In who you're choosing, probably one of the best soundtracks. I know you haven't played a lot of it, but I promise you, if you play any of the Knuckles levels, you will love him even more because all of them have excellent soundtracks to them. You get to choose between a hero side story, a dark side story, and then a final story of those 2 stories coming together, which is going to be amazing. It is easily the best story in the Sonic franchise, even if it doesn't make any sense, which is okay by me. This is the game I've 100%ed. I've gotten all 120 of the emblems. I've spent hours in the Chao Garden making
The Chao Garden.
No. All right.
All my homies love the Chao Garden.
Chao Garden is so good. You don't even know. Unless you've played it, it's hours and hours and hours of going to different levels, feeding your Chao whatever it needs to make it better, customizing your Chao with different animals that you give it. When you enter the Chao and you whistle, your favorite one will come running to you. It's perfect. It's amazing.
That's amazing, yo. I really need this game.
You do.
We've talked about it so much on and off air. I need this game. But I think that with that being said, I think we'll do one final look at all the tiers.
Yeah, so this
was
is you?
mine. Yeah, so I'm pretty happy with this because, like I said, I don't consider any games to be D tier from the mainline games. So yeah, I'm happy with it. I don't think there was too many hot takes. I felt like I gave good reason, and then we'll go straight to yours now as well. And I love just seeing this in in tier form. Yeah, you could definitely tell that we do probably have a little bit of a generational gap.
Most definitely.
Based on what I like and what you like.
But that's okay.
It was
because
it was a great episode, man.
I don't think that there was anything you said that I didn't agree with.
Yeah, and I was gonna say the same for you. I love that that you had Sonic Riders though in A tier because I really wanted that to be in, and I'm like, oh man, did I mess up wanting Sonic Riders?
No,
but no,
you definitely
I'm
did.
glad. So yeah, I think that's overall it's gonna do it for us today. Thank you so much, Evan, for giving your takes throughout the episode and taking behind the scenes. Could not have done the show without you. And thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys go enjoy today because it's finally TGII FNF Friday. Let's go, very happy. So with that being said, go out and enjoy the day. Thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Screenshot. My name is Justin, and don't forget to follow us on social media at DCSA Media Hub. Got no music for you guys today, so thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys back next time.